There it is. I think we're in. I think we must be in. Time enough for fiddling, I think. Time enough. Oh, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Just checking, because as usual I haven't really spent the time to sort everything out. I hope you can hear me out in TV land. Just give us a wave or something if you can. Sounds good, says Ken, but then Ken is prone to hallucinations, so you never can be too sure. I know, look at me on a Monday. There's always something new to find. How's the voice to synth ratio? Is this okay? Is that worse? Is that okay? I'm just going to poke that up there a little bit, just while I'm having a little bit of a play. Oh, it's just funny. It's just you know, it's just funny because you go around in circles of these things, and I find that immensely funny, pleasing, but funny. So hi. Sorry, that wasn't intended. I was planning to do it at the end, but hey, I just got stuck into a thing, and I thought, oh heck, I'm doing it. I mean, whose time am I wasting, really, when you come down to it? So here we are once again at Molten Chat. You're very welcome. I'm Robin, if you don't know me. And what we do is we chat about synths and modular and play a bit of music and chat about stuff and stick it to the fascists. That's the general idea. And so in order to start that off, I'm just going to pour myself a beer and then start saying hello to a few people. So I'm currently sadly not sponsored by the Brooklyn Brewery. Look at this. Look at the colours on this. It's the way I choose my beer. Cheers to you, Panda the Torture Clown. Yeah, political fallout was weird, to say the least. But hey, I'm up for it, you know. I'm not someone to shrink away from a discussion or a question, regardless of how ridiculous. Good. Oh, sweet golly, I've needed that. So, hi, here we are. Yes, so, right, sorry, beg your pardon. Let's get ourselves together. Now, we're here tonight because last weekend, when I would usually do my live stream, it just wasn't possible. Because I was in London, that's right. I was in London doing a gig. I was at CV Freaks. Gosh, that feels like months ago. But no, that was literally last weekend. And I took this along. More or less this rig, and I jammed with Eden Gray and another guy as well. He joined in, who was just perfect. I didn't know this guy, and I wasn't sure what his role was particularly. I was already nervous enough about playing with Eden, and then this other guy was also in, and he had this massive rig, but essentially all he did was put a kick drum in every now and again. But it was a fantastic kick drum that really just helped tremendously. So just little pieces he put in. Otherwise, me and Eden were rocking it on the things. Eden, if you don't know her, she's a long time modular performer and user. She has doctorates in Eurorack. And she runs the CV Freaks event, which has been happening in London and other places. There's one at Superbooth, funnily enough, last week on the Thursday night, I think. And essentially they put on synthesizer performances, mostly modular performances. So the focus is very much a live performance rather than just sitting around and looking at the gear. And this took place in Peckham Levels, in this, what I understand to be a multi-storey car park that's been converted into like a community hub centre studio live performance place. And it was in this very, very dark part of it that was all locked away. And we listened to electronic sounds all day from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon till about 10, although I had to leave earlier than that for various reasons, possibly of not being like living anywhere close and having to get home, things like that. But me and Eden played at about 4:30 in the afternoon. The place was packed, it was sweaty, it was heaving, and people were up for it. And Eden's music is very sort of noise and glitch and sort of based, sort of interesting textures and fascinating percussive noises and bits and pieces. It's not what you would necessarily call like a tune, a pop tune in the normal sort of way. Whereas I'm all about 8 notes going round and round and round. So I wasn't sure how we were going to make this work particularly, but you just have to trust you have to trust in the moment. You have to trust in knowing a little bit about your system and having the courage to just push it up a little bit and then push it away and then push it up and try something else and push it away and to listen. You know, those are the key things. I mean, I've been doing the improvised modular for quite a while now with Synth East. Hey man, thanks for that. I appreciate that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, I've been doing it through Synth and through with Steve Davis and Gaz and such like. I've been doing quite a lot of improvisation, so I like that. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, because it's terrifying and fun, and the other one because it doesn't require any prep. You don't have to learn anything. Well, learn your machine a little bit. You just go and you see what happens, and that's tremendous for someone like myself who is very, very time poor. Anyway. Eden started playing. I started bringing bits in. The guy in the back with the kick drum just coming in, and it was just brilliant. I had such a fantastic time doing that. That was great. Got to do more of that, I think. I kept bringing in little bits, bits like you heard, bits of sort of acidy stuff, bleepy bass lines, while she was making all the noise in the world, and it was so loud. I mean, by the time myself and Nancy, my daughter, came along with me, by the time we left, the walls were shaking. The door, you got through the double doors, and it's just sort of going. So I think it was Simon who does the DIY. I think he was on after us, and he was just bringing the house down. So yeah, it was a good fun gig, that one. Why did I get into talking about that? Oh yeah, the reason why there's Molten Chat is tonight. And so I was planning to do it last night, but I was just unable to, because I was having to pick my wife up from the station at the wrong sort of time, all that kind of thing. So I've thrown myself into Monday night without a care for what else is going on. I don't know. And I thought that we could talk a little bit about Superbooth, perhaps, or other bits and pieces. Otherwise, I'll just play with my gear and we'll go from there. Obviously, we had the local council elections, which were fun and enlightening, interesting, and yeah, I got myself bundled on by a bunch of reform bots, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I've never seen the like. I would not have believed it had it not happened to me, if you know what I mean. As in, these things really happen. You really get piled on by a bunch of idiots. It's crazy. But I say I'm quite thick-skinned about these sorts of things. The Lathe of Heaven. It's a good name for a book. I mean, it's a great thing we could do to, St Andrews, for instance. Or, St Giles. I mean, imagine having a rave down in that basement where you have to sort of slide down that entrance into it. That would be pretty awesome. You could have dry ice bubbling out of the ground. That would be quite good fun. Anyway, it was Yogs Fatakar 320 you got on there first. You were there before we started, mate. Well done. Good to see you. Richard Access, good to see you. Ken, of course, everyone. Antithymus of Rome Day. Okay. Mike, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Fred, Jason, Addy Vision, Mark. I could just throw random names out and you just assign them to yourselves. Maybe that's the easiest way to do it. Hey, Infinite Machinery, long time no see. How you doing? Are you still over there in Taiwan or somewhere, aren't you? I think. Tracker Jack. Dots are here. Great stuff. And Hardwired. Wow, Barry, good to see you. Lots of lovely people. Good. I'm not even looking at the specs. I've no idea. Let me look at the specs. 53. That'll do. That's a party, isn't it? That's a do for a one, considering I haven't really really advertised it. Have I got things on? Yes, I do. Your council's now fascist. Awesome. Well, I mean, I hope they just get on with a fabulous job of filling in potholes and stuff like that. I mean, that seemed to be the most amusing thing of the whole night, was simply that they didn't seem to understand that this was not a general election. It was just for councils, and you just want councils to do a good job. I mean, obviously, that also applies to myself, being annoyed at the number of reform councillors. Because it is undoubtedly, regardless of what it is that the job entails, it is a reflection on people's feelings, and I absolutely understand that. I just hoped that people's feelings would not go that way. But, I mean, on the other hand, in Norfolk in particular, you don't get a whole lot of alternatives. I mean, Lib Dems are the alternatives, but if you're seeing the government in general, that system, that parliamentary system, as being the problem, then that's going to sort of include Lib Dems as well, because they had a splendid, awful time as part of the Tories for a little while. So I can understand the want to vote for something else, even if you're not a racist, you know. I think that's completely plausible in just trying to send some kind of message to the government that you're not happy. Yeah, I get that. The problem is that we end up with a bunch of councillors who have no idea what they're doing. You know, they've never done it before. You know, they've never spent enough time outside driving their Jaguar to and from whatever factory floor they manage to notice what's going on in the world. So that's the problem really with voting all these councillors in, is that nothing's going to get done, or rather it just means it's harder work for the people there who are actually doing the job, because these other guys, I mean, I'm speaking very gently and making lots of assumptions. I'm just assuming are not really going to turn up very much because they're not really into it. At least that's the track record of Reform councillors so far. They tend to quit. They tend to get themselves fired. They get themselves thrown out because of bad behaviour or wrong sorts of things that they said. And it just means that the council's left with less people to do the same amount of work, you know. But hey, it gives us something to talk about, doesn't it? And I get told off for calling half of Norfolk a bunch of silly twits. So yeah. So what are we going to talk about then? Mr. Fat Dust says the show winner was the Twisted Electrons Flex FM. That's interesting. Now I've got a confession to make, which is that I'm actually too busy to watch much of Superbooth. I've gone through a couple of sort of best of videos, just because obviously I need to keep my eye out for the Eurorack module that I predicted, but sadly I don't think that has come into being. And I would also like to apologise to anyone who thought I had actually asked AI to invent a Eurorack module and that was what I was trying to get across. Nothing could be further from the truth. I am not pro or anti-AI particularly, because that's too much of a blanket statement to understand what it is that we mean by that. My video was purely about the idea that we could have a Eurorack model which is a blank, that we could use prompts to stick different algorithms into it. You know, we could ask AI, I want it to do this, and it would do it. And I thought that was a very real possibility of that appearing in real life at Superbooth. And I wanted to talk about how we feel about that and how we feel about AI in general, and in the different ways that it's used, the different ways that it's here already, and whether we want it to be or not, and how we feel about all of that. So that's what that video was about. It wasn't endorsing AI in particular. At the same time, it wasn't dismissing it out of hand, because it's, as I say, it's already in use and we're already using it. So I'm not quite sure what the point of that is. But I am, along with everybody else, I'm sure, very upset about the idea that people want to make music without actually making the music. You know, I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm just like boggled by it. Why would you do that? Don't know. But also that there are probably situations in which, or for people who have, you know, no real interest in actually making music, the idea of having their own tune is quite a nice one, I imagine. So yeah, there you go. And they've probably only got about 1 billion users, and so what does that matter? What does that matter? Some are already dead. Yeah, not surprised. Yeah. Anyway, there's always a possibility that because I've drawn the of Reform bots, that they'll turn up on our live stream today. I don't think so. I don't think I'm being pursued. I think it was kind of a one-off because a particular post I did on Facebook was shared all over the place. But if they do give us a shout and I'll kick them out, or I'll promote someone to be a moderator or something. But I think we should be fine. Besides, what are we doing? Nothing. We're just chatting about a load of old rubbish. So there we go. You're the mayor in the town of France? Yeah. I do worry about France sometimes. You do lurch about the place. While I think the way you treat politics is extraordinary. You seem to have such engagement, such a passion for it. But the flip side of that is it just seems to lurch about the place. So it can take you by surprise. But, you know, fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. I'd like to think, with the situation in Hungary, I don't want to turn this into a politics evening, with the situation in Hungary, that there's actually a pushback and maybe the tide is beginning to turn again. That would be amazing. I mean, the rise of the Greens in the UK has been amazing. It's been fabulous to see. And as someone who has given Mr. Starmer an awful lot of benefit of the doubt, you know, I hate the headline driven way that we do our politics here. I hate it. I do really hate it. Because I know that you know, in the background, Labour have been working hard and have been dealing with lots of issues and have been sorting a lot of stuff out that we don't even know about or are aware of. So I'm not one to try to kick Starmer to the curb just because. However, on the other hand, you know, a new person at the front and a new direction and a bold plan, I think, yes, please. Yes, let's have all of that. Yes, please. That would be great. Let's do that. God, I don't know, he's got it out of my head now. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, abominable music. Yeah, I mean, that was the idea. That's what I thought might come up this year because of the Poly End Endless last year. It kind of felt like, yeah, could do that in Eurorack, couldn't they? But the truth is that a lot of it is already being done in Eurorack, just not at user prompt level, but at coding level. There's you know, AI is contributing to all of that kind of thing in algorithms these days. Yeah, sorry, very boring jumper. Sorry. Look, I've got my Synth Reactor t-shirt on, which is where I first met Sam Battle, of course, my mate who's up for the Eurovision on Saturday. How fantastic is that still? Can't quite believe it. It's going to be upon us. He's already done performances and rehearsals and all sorts of things in his lovely pink jumpsuit. That's going to be brilliant. I can't wait. Well, Ken, I thought he did all right on the international stage. You know, I thought he seemed sensible and competent. But which is something that we need, yes, but we also need gregariousness. We also need a grand idea. We also need something which really leaves a mark. You know, in a good way, like I don't know, nationalising water or nationalising the railways or kicking out foreign power owners or, you know, taxing billionaires. Something. Just give us something, you know. I mean, funnily enough, I've got no complaints about my council. You know, they fill in holes, they do lots of roadworks, the bins get collected, etc. That's going okay. I mean, council tax is not awesome, but it's how we pay for stuff. And, you know, so I don't mind that either. Anyway, let's not get dragged into the things. Doobadoo. We needed Carney. Yeah, maybe. Flying cars, that too, yeah. Joel Lefay, well, you know, thanks for stopping by. It's appreciated. And there is something nice about the chat, that's true, and seeing it live. But I also appreciate that some people can't, and the timings and things are wrong. So I'll give you a special wave to all those out there who are watching this on repeat, which I think is marvellous. It blows my mind that you would do such a thing. So, okay, let's focus in back to Superbooth for a moment and see if we can pick out anything that people really, really liked. Now, there are a couple of things that got punted my way before it started. The first person to get in touch, which I thought was brilliant and also sort of bonkers, was the rock. There was a rock, right, that you waved at. You waved at the rock waved back, and it was a controller, yet another one of these hand wavery controllers, of which I'm a massive fan, except they make your arms ache, and it never ends up being good. I've put Kickstarter stuff into so many of these wavy things, whether it's gloves, whether it's got a ring thing that moves, a thing. I mean, that was one of the things at CV Freaks. There was a guy there who had a little set running on some kind of launchpad laptop thing, and he gave out these sort of wands, these slightly dodgy looking wands, which all lit up and buzzed properly, probably, and people moved them about, and it changed aspects of the music, which was a nice idea. The crowd were a little bit bemused and weren't that interested, to be fair, at that time, which is a shame. I think in the right context that would have been really good fun, but in the space it was, you kept moving these things about and you weren't sure what that was controlling. And that seems to sum up the hand wavy aspect of these sorts of things. It's the same if you've got accelerometers in your device and you're moving your device about like this in order to try to change things. I just don't think that translates well in a live performance. It's something which is trying to be engaging and moving and performance led, and I get that, definitely. I mean, you're ultimately trying to get to the point where you have a guitar in your hands and you're rocking it, and there's something about having a real instrument that you're playing that makes a difference than having some kind of clever controller which is doing something. I mean, I know, Nikki, you use some hand wavy theremin type stuff, don't you? Haven't you got sensors put into your angel wings, something of that nature? I mean, it absolutely can work. I'm always concerned about how stupid do you feel at this particular point. I wasn't not pointing that at you. The wings help. Yes, I can see that, because you need something physical somehow to do it with, I think. And in some ways the spectacle, with the wings, it doesn't really matter what the music's doing, because the whole thing becomes delightful. Do you know what I mean? The D-beam, possibly. I mean, a little bit of that with the D-beam, I can see that being a thing. Is that better than reaching for a knob? I don't know. But this rock, right? They've actually got a rock with all sorts of sensors in it. And I thought that was fascinating. I mean, what a great way to have a go at that idea, rather than having something boring like a block or an aerial or a ring or something. Have a flipping boulder. I mean, that's quite innovative. Pet rock, possibly that you wait a long time for it to do something. Corey, says Nikki. Yeah. I thought it looked cool. I just can't quite work it out. The Plinky 12, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was in last month's Molten Monthly, but that looks like a very, very beautiful device. I mean, I've got a Plinky kit that I've never got around quite to building, which I've always meant to, but it looks like something that could be really very, very nice. I mean, how is it that we keep reworking this interface that we put ourselves in front of in order to play our music? We keep changing it, keep massaging it, and yet we find another way to do it beautifully. And that's fascinating also, the whole area of interface design. I didn't think there wasn't anything too outrageous. I don't think that I saw this in the bits and pieces that I saw. Particularly, although the guy with the whale, the whale synth that I had in the Molten Monthly, the guy's got in touch and says he wants to send me one, which is brilliant. So I'm definitely going to have a go at that. So yeah, you need choreography. Yeah. Yeah. Now with all of that. Yeah, always hoping that there'll be an interface that lets me use all my synths in a new way. Yes. Yeah, I have that same feeling. This time it's going to be brilliant. But I'm finding that about how I use my synths anyway. I mean, what's interesting about my rig at the moment is that it's very tuneful. I can make tunes on it. I've got drums. I've got 6 voices altogether, I think. And I can make music with it. And I can do it on the fly. And I can move things about and randomize stuff. But it is all sort of in the same sort of vein, and I wonder at the moment, it's like I saw the performance of Panic Girl at Superbooth, a little bit of that when she's playing on her buckler, and just doing something very simple. It was so beautiful and so engaging, and I'm thinking, I'm just doing like a bit of crappy techno. Surely I can step into something a little bit more cerebral, something a little bit more interesting. I mean, so this evening, what I did, right, get this, I deliberately put the Pams, one of the tracks, on 1.3, you know, rather than just a regular division, and that what caused this slight strange weirdness going on, which was nice. So it doesn't take much, it just takes a little bit of change. And I've been thinking really hard again about trying to, because I've got 3-4 quantizers in here, and they're all set to a similar sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, well, I've got to be able to change notes, because when you're doing like an arpeggiation, you want notes to change, not just play the same notes in a different order, but actually start introducing new notes and shift to a new chord. That, I think, is what I've got to focus on from my point of view. You know, I've nailed the 8 notes. I really have. I've just got to now start shifting to another one, and I need to get into that next level of understanding the quantizers that I have, to see whether I can shift scales or notes, whether I can save things and move them, and how I do that, how I trigger that to happen, and when I can do that. And so before you know it, next time you hear me, I'm just going to be going between 2 chords the whole time. And I'll be stuck on that for a good 18 months. Anyway, Plinky, yeah. Please annoyed about the 1010 Black Box 2. It seems to fix the things you hate. Well, that's good. I mean, that's very positive. I tried really hard to like the 1010 stuff, you know, early on when they first released their modules. But it sort of came at a time when I was pushing myself away from any kind of computer sort of interface, and so it just felt like a regressive move to start using a computer interface within Eurorack. But then other things like the black box seem to be very capable, but again, it's sort of menus and screens, and I don't know. It doesn't particularly thrill me, that idea, although I know them to be very, very capable. But it's not something that's I've gone, oh wow, yeah. Whereas, you know, the Zoom mixer recorders, whatever their things are called, those very, very different, because they seem to be far more immediate. So, you know, much more straightforward, and do a similar idea of mixing and capturing a performance at the same time. So those definitely thrill me a little bit more. No, I haven't heard from Lumatic Visual Devices since Synth East, funnily enough. I meant to reach out about that. I haven't done. What is totally mental? Did I miss something that's totally mental? Oh, the Enigma. I thought you meant you saw Enigma, like the band. What are you actually talking about? What are you talking about? Soma Enigma. Oh, right, okay. So, yeah. Another sort of plank of wood with a bunch of stuff stuffed in it. Fantastic. Soma Laboratories are, like, extraordinary. No end to the creativity they come out. Maybe that's the mad thing that came out this year. Is the Enigma. I haven't seen any videos on it yet. I mean, ultimately, I'm going to be putting my Superbooth reactions down to the monthly at the end of this month. So I'm going to be putting everything there. So just interested to hear what people have got to say about a few things. It's pretty cool. The Enigma. Right. Korg are missing things. The Flame Meander. Okay. Interesting. An M1 Volca. That's a good idea. Come on. Oh, I got to the one. Have I ever finished that Decars build? No, it's up here. It's up there. I mean, it's nearly finished. I keep telling people I need to go and see Mike Gorman, right? Who knows about these things. I need to take it up to him, and we can just get rid of the earthing problem and sort it out once and for all. That would be really good, because it's, you know, really should do that. The modal electronic synth. Okay, cool. I mean, the modal one is like a simplified version of the Cobalt. Is that right? Which is a bit like the Take 5, not Take 5. They did the, what am I talking about? No, the the Carbon, was it Cobalt 5? God, my mind. Anyway, they did like a cut down version of the original one that they did, the virtual analog one, which I thought was quite cool. So this seems to be a similarly cut down version of their new one, which is Carbon, I think. And I don't know, is that a good idea? Was the Carbon originally very complicated, or, well, I think it was expensive, or more expensive. So is this a better way in, do we think? Don't know. Interesting to see that. No, don't get me started with tip-top audio art. Oh, art's very frustrating, because it seems like there's some kind of good idea in there at the same time as it being a little bit unreachable, and heavily requires, I think, third-party support to really make a difference. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck with their thing. And there's this element that once you start trying to get polyphonic Eurorack, polyphonic modular, it gets to the point, I feel, where you just might as well get a synth, because it just solves all of the problems. I think what's great about modular works really well with monophonic sources and works really well with simplified things. I think once you start stacking up layers of voices, it gets complicated, and that's why we have synthesizers. That's the whole reason why we have synthesizers, is to solve the sorts of problems of getting multiple channels of audio through a system successfully, So I'm not convinced that art is going to be a goer going forward, and also they're terrible at explaining it. Worst. And it doesn't ever seem to be out there. I'd never seen videos from actual users going, oh yeah, this is how this all hangs together. So I don't know. I think it's brave, courageous, that kind of thing, but difficult to really understand how that would mesh in with an existing system. But you found it interesting. That's great. The Bastel Kalimba. Yeah, I've heard that was excellent. I've heard that was one of the best things there. I mean, Kalimbas have been knocking around in modular for a while. Whenever we have contact mics knocking around, people have been going blink, 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 because it's very, rings-like, I suppose, and creates a good ambient, plucky, low pass gate kind of sound. There's something very evocative about the simplicity of that we then run through a bunch of filters and effects that does wonderful things. So I think Bastel jumping on that is doing it very much in a Soma Laboratories way. I think Soma would probably a little bit jealous of the Kalimba, because it's like, well, that's a good idea that we should have had, whereas Bastel have done it, which is nice. And with Bastel, of course, it's going to have a bit of a crunchy element to it, but nice, I think. Nice. I mean, I'm forever trying to find a decent interface to sequence stuff, and why not do it on your thumbs? I think that's a given. Drum farm, yeah, especially the cows. Yeah, I spoke to Jason before Superbooth about the drum farm, and yeah, that looks like fun. Trying to work out exactly which engines you're triggering and where they come from and where the sampling bit goes. How easy is it to sample something into it and then play that back on the fly, as it were, or is it just about capturing kits and then setting a kit up? Don't know. It's a bit super wide. It's going to cost you a lot in HP, but otherwise. Yeah, super interesting. Hope to have one of those once he's worked out. I think he was trying to get some new knobs done or something. I don't remember. But it's not far off, I think. Kronos with a gadget in it? Oh, with gadget in it. Yeah. Korg don't... The departments of software and hardware at Korg seem to be completely opposite ends of the universe. They don't ever seem to communicate. I think there's a lot of the software stuff they do that could easily be ported into some of their hardware. Which, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say, because they do that all the time, don't they? With the wave state and the mod wave and stuff. Well, just talking here. The Ziggy, great, okay. That's a booklet, like a mini easel for us more simple people, called the Ziggy, which is I think that's kind of groovy name for an old company producing something like that. It still looks very Buchla-like. They haven't gone for like a posh interface or anything like that. It looks quite cool. 8-voice neutron. Oh yeah, the Polyend drum machine. Yeah, that was quite unexpected, I think. A big fat drum machine from them. Oh, no, we are at the bottom. Do I have any preference of monophonic or polyphonic when working with modular synth? Yeah, monophonic, generally. Can you talk about how you compose tunes with your synth at some point in the future? I can talk about it at some point in the future. Yeah, I mean, we can go through my rig in a little bit if you like, just to show you what's going on in there. That might be fun. And yeah, there's no plan. It's all kind of accidental. I mean, it's annoying and frustrating, that, I think, but I'm very rarely looking to do something on purpose. I'm more likely just playing with something and then like the way that sounds, and then I'll try to do that again the next time I turn it on, and I'll get something that's a little bit unlike it, you know. But I can certainly tell you what I'm currently working with, and there's bits in it which are brilliant, I think, and there's bits in it which are I don't know, I want to do something else, and there's never enough room because there's other bits I want to put in, and I've got new bits to look at that I can't fit in there. But yeah, I mean, I pulled it together quite quickly, and I really like what I've managed to do on the whole. But in preference for mono or polyphonic, monophonic definitely. I mean, I do use polyphonic sounds as much as things like the Strymon Supercar Plus does have polyphony, so it's allowed to ring over itself as you hit different notes. But generally speaking, I'm hitting one note at a time. I do occasionally try to use chords from things like the Monomatic, but I think it feels to me like once I take a keyboard along, it feels like I've lost the fight, and I might as well go proper synthesizers. I'm trying, but at the same time, I seem to be trying so hard just to play a few notes, in trying to work that out through multiple modules of, you know, oscillators and quantizers and trigger machines and sequencers and all sorts of bits and pieces, when I could just bloody play it on a keyboard, couldn't I? You know, but not having the keyboard means that I'm more likely to stumble into something that I like and stumble out of it again, rather than just playing the same sort of things that I already know, if that makes sense. And I enjoy the process of working on it. But there's 16 modules here that I'd really like to have in this case also. So that means taking 2 cases. But taking this one case live, you know, on a bus, on a train, in the car, whatever, walking down the road with it is enough. To take anything more, I mean, it does start to tempt you into the idea of pulling the sequencing out, put it in a sequencer like the Create Audio program or the Oxy One or something like that, and have it separate, something which is, you know, compact enough to travel with you, and that way you could pull all the sequencing out of your rack and leave that purely for voices. You know, there's a lot to be said for that, but I'm trying not to. Boulder Dash. Don't you end up hearing the same notes over and over again at different places? I don't know. It's like somebody put a meme out the other day that came my way that said something about a synth. Was it a synth manufacturer makes a new synth that makes all the men with new synths very happy to get a new synth, or something along those lines. I don't hold with that kind of thinking. I don't hold with the idea that there's having a synth is enough. It's like having one pair of shoes is enough, or, you know, one pair of socks is enough, or one guitar is enough. That's not quite right, because you get different things from different from different things, you know. The way you dress differently makes you feel different about things. And so having a different synthesizer will help you create differently. I don't think it's hard. I don't think we need to be snide at each other about, oh, look, yet another synth. Because, I mean, flipping heck, we've been doing the same thing for years. Over and over again, we get another synthesizer with a filter and an envelope and some delay at the end. You know, you could very easily close in and look inward and just go, it's all for nothing. It's all Emperor's New Clothes. It's all currently reinventing itself in some kind of cycle. And yeah, I mean, you can do that if you wish, but I don't wish to. I wish to see each new piece of technology that comes along as something awesome in of itself. You know, something that we've created and put together and put out into the world. I mean, how exciting is that? And it makes a sound similar to other sounds, but this makes a sound in this way, and that's fantastic. Yeah. What sampled? Hi, Camden. So, Christo, what are you? What is it sampled directly? Oh yeah, the Mylar 8 thing. I've got that here. It's right here in front and center. It turned out the day before Superbooth. I'm hoping to do a review on it soon. I'm going to spend a little bit of time with it. I haven't spent much time with it yet, but I think I've got the measure of it because it's pretty straightforward. I mean, they've gone. I mean, I work with Bafako as well on modules, and so I know how the process goes, and I know about trying to crowbar features in when perhaps at the same time not wanting to expand the module into being something like 20 HP. Trying to keep it compact and simple while still having the functionality in it. That is the struggle, and it looks like Mylar has fought that battle with Bafako and has done a pretty good job. You are going to have to learn a little bit of cryptic menu-ness, I think, in what it is that it's saying to you. But what I really like is the fact you've got 8 channels of stuff pouring out of this. So it could be 8 channels of randomness, could be 8 channels of sequencing, could be 8 channels of modulation, LFOs or something, or some such, and the ability to save it as well. So it could at least be 8 Turing machines. You know, really, really useful. I can see how that could be incredibly useful, just in getting things started. Yeah. Interesting. And you heard that earlier, funny enough. It was running a little bass line, a little line. The Iridium. Oh, we're talking about posh. We're talking about posh Waldorf synthesizers. I did think they did everything already. Keep buying synths and start a lending library. Yeah, I'm kind of doing that already. Who are the synth artists that inspire you? That's a good question. The answer to that question is I do not know, really. I get inspired by all sorts of things that I have the opportunity to hear. I'm not a sort of a fan follower of any particular electronic artist. There's just stuff I come across that I really like. Sometimes I remember who it's by. Sometimes I get to buy a record, and other times it just sort of whisks itself off, and I enjoyed it as it was in the moment. I did. I mean, I've never been into all the people I'm supposed to be into. I mean, for instance, the only Kraftwerk record I've got is the one before they went electronic. So the one when they're all playing flutes and shaking shakers and banging bits of old sticks and stuff, which I think quite funny. Well, I've got that, and I've got Tour de France because with the 12-inch single, because I did robot dancing to that in my middle school when I was 11. No, I didn't do that. I should have done that. No, I didn't do that. I actually danced to Tusk by Fleetwood Mac. Aha! But around the same sort of time, I definitely got into Electric Boogaloo, and in that movie, I think we had Tour de France as what's his name did his body popping. Anyway, so that's Kraftwerk, right? Never liked anything they did synths. synths. I did get into Jean-Michel Jarre for a good while, and Vangelis, early Vangelis, a China album in particular, I really, really liked. So yeah, I was definitely into all of that. It's like Tangerine Dream, right? Well, I never was aware of them particularly, but I had to write an article about Tangerine Dream for Perfect Circuit, and I just immersed myself in it for like a couple of weeks, and it was superb. I mean, you know, dodgy middle period aside, it was superb. And I bought a couple of records, and that's been lovely. And their recent one, the Rayum one that I bought, I think is absolutely beautiful. Really, really nice. And and I had one of my kids came in as I had it on, and they said, "Oh, is this you?" And it's like, oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? And I brought them up well. But yeah, so my tastes and my inspirations are very sporadic. Like, for instance, I was listening to Gomez in the car the other day and thinking, this is brilliant. This is just so brilliant. And I was trying to imagine how I translate that into modular, and it makes me think again about how I arrange stuff and how I change stuff. Because one of the things that the political thing has sparked in me again is a kind of a desire to songwrite. Because while it's all very well doing electronic music which kills fascists, if you're not actually saying anything, it's really hard to discern that. And for all you know, fascists are listening to it going, oh yeah, this has got a really good groove to it. So the indie rebel anarchist started bubbling up in me again, and I'm thinking that maybe I need to write songs, and maybe there's a way of incorporating that into modular without it sort of descending into synth pop. Now, nothing wrong with synth pop. I enjoy a bit of synth pop, but I don't want that. I want the equivalent of shouty folk music in modular. That's always, funnily enough, kind of what I've been aiming for, even though I end up just doing kind of mild techno. But that is ultimately what I'm trying to achieve, I think. And the massive leap from fiddling about on a device in front of a crowd to actually fiddling about and singing is enormous. I mean, I did a little bit of work with the Endless processor for a while when I had a microphone plugged in, and I would try to capture my voice. And just even doing that, I felt like an idiot singing into this microphone. But the flip side is, in 4 weeks' time, I'm playing Swan and Abbott Revels, where I'm doing 2 sets of a covers band where I play guitar and sing and scream a little heart out. So it's not as if I can't do it. It's just trying to get those contexts together. So trying to find ways of doing kind of loop-based electronic bleepy bloopy music, but that's also, you know, that when that actually does translate well into what you would understand as folk music, because folk music is very loopy, it's very reel based, you know, as in slip jigs and reels, as opposed to Facebook reels. It's very repeated phrases and the same thing over and over and over and over again, just with more and more whittling. So it does translate well. It's just working out how to do that. But at the same time, I also like, there's a band called WH Lung that I really, really like. I can't remember why. I just picked up something of theirs and thought it was fantastic. Then I saw them live and just thought, well, this is just amazing. And that, again, is singing with electronic and sort of guitar-y music as well, but mostly electronic. But the power and sense of it, the drive behind it, it's just brilliant. Totally awesome. And I like that too. Oh yeah, no, the other one I was going to say was Aphex Twin. Yeah. So I could never understand why people like Aphex Twin, because to me Aphex Twin when the first time I ever heard of them was it window licker thing, basically a pop video with this horrible face on all these women with all their boobs out in cars, and it was just everything I didn't want about music at that particular time. It was just like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I had no previous knowledge of the guy or knew anything about him, so I just dismissed it as kind of bad hip hop. Do you know what I mean? And so it's always bemused me when people have talked about this god of Aphex Twin and how awesome that is, until I then hear some of the ambient stuff and just go, well, god damn, I ignored all of that because he decided to put a load of tits in his video. He lost one lifelong fan potentially simply because of what appeared. I mean, presumably it was somehow ironically misogynistic as opposed to actually misogynistic or horrible, and I completely missed out on an entire back catalogue. But anyway, by the by, what can you do? Not everyone makes the right decision. Milkweed. Okay. Interesting. Hello from Germany. I'm assuming that says something about Bastel. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, funny enough, my kids have introduced me to Aphex Twin synths, and again, and that's been great. That's been great. Anyway, so I've been talking a lot. Let me just rewind the chat a little bit. Thanks for the questions, David. I appreciate it. It always gives me something to chew on. That's always fun. New Order. Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. I was an 80s kid, so I grew up with all that synth stuff. Absolutely. But then but my trajectory was, synth stuff, really cool synth stuff. I almost went goth, not quite, because I kind of was pulled back into very much middle of the road pop music, Stock Aitken and Waterman, all that kind of terrible stuff at the end of the 80s. I sort of went down that line, because of girls and discos and dancing and that kind of thing. And that was, I remember quite distinctly how discos it's like 86, 87, 88, those sorts of years. Because we'd have discos in your local community centre. You'd have a disco, you'd have a DJ and a disco. And you'd be dancing, first of all, to Depeche Mode and The Cure and I'd say UB40. That sort of stuff. Proper 80s, synth pop music. Good stuff. And then it slowly transformed into Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan and other such pop luminaries. But it was good. But then house music started coming in, and it was the most boring thing you'd ever heard compared to what we were dancing to Come On Arlene, and then you're suddenly dancing to House Nation going, well, why is this fun? And so the whole sort of disco thing tended to fall apart, and it was at that point that I shifted my gaze towards indie music. I bought a guitar and started going towards the indie side of things, and so Wonder Stuff and Dinosaur Jr. and Echo Belly and so forth and so on, which led me on a trajectory into grunge, of course, in the early 90s. Which was great. So I came out of synthesized electronic music, out of the best time of it, was messed up by the Hit Factory and then early house music, which I did not appreciate, which was odd because I was really into electro in the earlier 80s. So it's funny how your taste change, Anyway, so I ended up heavily into grunge, and then from grunge I also sidetracked into folk. I did a lot of stuff on folk, wrote my dissertation on folk music, and kicked around in folk clubs for a long time. Before, I don't know, after that everything went a bit. I think music changed. I think when the internet came along, when Napster came along, I think I was kind of out the other end of music. It was almost like I'd completed the subset of music and I'd know kind of where to go. But then when Napster came along, we could suddenly go backwards and re-find all that music that you'd lost because you'd moved house 17 times and you no longer had a record player or whatever. And that was able to reignite ideas, and then been very diverse ever since. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. There you go. Anyway. Man with Eurorack wall calling Iridium posh. Yeah. Because it's to do with individual purchases. That's the brilliant thing about the Eurorack, is that it's you know, you're not putting down $2,000 in one go. You're building up to that over a big time, and that makes all the difference in my view. Delia. Yeah, with Tangerine Dream, I kind of think that's like, what's the first one called? Phoebus. I'm such a fan. That one, anyway. That one and Rayum feel like they're opposite ends of the same thing. You know, it's like the kicking off with that and ending off at that. I think is a perfect example of how well the new version of Tangerine Dream really holds it all together in a very much the same vein. Anyway. Yeah, in fact, 9 Inch Nails, I would say How to Destroy Angels would be a bigger influence. I think that album, which I think was mostly recorded in kind of a circle of synths and modular, was just brilliant. I totally love that album. The sound of it, the fatness. I mean, her voice as well, amazing, just fits in there so hauntingly. But otherwise, the sounds, the way it's put together is... it feels very live. It feels like it was just done in that room just then, and people were playing the synths as they were going. I think that was really interesting, and that's definitely something that I would aspire towards doing. Yeah, I've also thought about the political pre-record. Well, I've lost that. What's that gone? Hang on. Yeah, the political rant and chopping it up. Yes, because there's a guy I follow on Facebook recently who's brilliant. I mean, he's in America and he's talking about socialism, but in such a fascinating way that I kind of think I might chop him up and dump him into something. That means I'm going to have to get me disting out in order to work out how to do that, I think. Hi, Arthur from Boston. Have you done any intro to modular videos, particularly Signal Flow? No, I haven't. And I want to. So... yes, I very much want to do some how to get into modular type videos. I think it's important. I think at the moment it's still something which is growing, and more people are becoming aware of it. I think it's an important thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do because of how diverse it is. Where do you start? With what do you start? And so I've been thinking about that a lot. I've also been thinking again about a more permanent place for my stuff in Norwich, where I can start running workshops and actually potentially get people in and show them things, you know, sort of pretend that I know what I'm doing in a kind of a proper way. And I think that's quite exciting, thinking again about that. And so all of those sorts of things are coming together that I need to produce a few videos on that. You know, but those things sort of require time and work, because it's not something I can just sort of throw together, because it's important. It's important to get right. And I think in my original series of videos, when I was learning myself, that was fine. I can throw myself into a position where I don't really know, and we're working these things out together, and isn't that fun? And that's great. But to flip myself into a position of apparent authority and say this is how you do it, that's a different thing, and that requires me to shift through things in my head, I think, as well as actually make sure I do it right. But my rough plan is to do sort of the same video 4 or 5 times, so you have it in different scenarios. So you have like as cheap as chips possible way into into a Eurorack, for instance. I'll do one how to get into Eurorack with the microbits, microrack stuff, the little stuff on breadboard. Do that. Do one using DIY stuff. Do that. Do one just purely in VCV rack. The kind of the same workshop, the same seminar, if you like, just in different contexts in order to try to cover all those things. So I think ultimately my idea is to do an introduction to this that will be just freely available, and then perhaps put more detailed courses in these particular places behind sort of a Patreon paywall or something. That might be helpful. That might make it work a bit better. Enable me to put my time into it, because that's always a thing. God, I really hate talking about it. Anyway. So yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. I would like to do that. It's just getting my head around what it is you actually tell people. Now I've done seminars for Sound on Sound at Synthfest and stuff on how to get into modular and talk about voltage and CV and all that kind of thing. So I definitely have those resources to draw upon. I think I can do it. I think I would do a decent job. I've just got to find the window of time that I can do it in. That's the key. That's the key. Call and response electro folk. Yeah. Nice. XLR to modular. Any tips? XLR input to modular. I think there's a few now input modules, instrument input modules. Bafako do one. I could probably put my hands on it if I wave them around enough. Can I? Yes. Something like that. XLR, bing, there. Envelope follower takes the envelope off and uses that as modulation. Otherwise, it comes out of modular. Stick that in. I think Instruo have just done one themselves and made lots of really lovely videos all about it on the lead up to Superbooth. So yeah, no, totally, you can do that. Absolutely, you can. I built this one myself. You can tell by the crummy soldering on the back. Bye. Thanks for being here. What about Hawkwind? It's just a bit before my time, I think, Ken. I mean, they played at Norwich a lot. They always seem to be playing in Norwich at the UEA. But no, I only ever stumble upon them, when you get repeats of the old grey whistle test or something like that on the telly. It was a little bit before my time. Square Pusher. Yeah, I randomly bought a Square Pusher album and I find it quite unlistenable, I have to say. I'm afraid. I kind of was thinking, oh no, I'm going to jump into this genre with both hands, it'll be fine. I'm going, oh no, I wish I hadn't. Ooh. Hang on. Yeah, house music. I bought a couple of house music albums back, at the first time when it was also Chicago house and stuff. I tried to get into it and just found it vacuous at the time. Now I have a lot more sort of respect for what they were doing and understand a lot more about it and find that it was more interesting than I thought. But I was definitely not wanting to be a machine at that time. I wanted to go and be real. Whatever that means, I've appreciated it further later, looking back, with a lot of house music and dance music. I mean, also at the time I was living in a house in London, shared house with lots of people who were massively into their dance music, by by the mid-90s. They were into other things too, but their thing was to go to raves and take drugs and have a fantastic time all night, and that just did not appeal to me. And so I'd go to gigs and get drunk and go home by midnight, whereas they'd be out all night till 6 a.m. and I'd meet them for breakfast. It was just kind of a different vibe, and because of that, I just went in a completely different way, a bit more of a Glastonbury Festival way, a bit more of a folky way, that kind of thing. Horses for courses. See, I remember talking to Trent Reznor on forums on the early internet when he was talking about how you can do it all yourself. How the internet empowers you to be, to make your own music, to release your own music, to publicize your own music. And he was pushing that idea for a little while. It was really great. It was all around. What was that page we all had? I can't even remember. Oh, God. Anyway, on your What's It page. I can't remember. Anyway, so, yeah, he was well into all of that until he realised that no one was ever going to listen to his music anymore because no one could find it. You couldn't get it into a record shop, which is ultimately where people find you. So I think he signed back on with Sony and became an Academy Award-winning composer. That's what you do when you're a little bit famous. It's all very well saying, oh yeah, you can do it all yourselves. But then if you've actually got a track record and maybe even a record company, it's a little bit of a different thing, I think. Dooby-dooby-doo. Right, just skipping on down a little bit. Alexander Meldrum asks, did you start with modular? If not, what made you switch? Yeah, no, I was a software guy. I've been a software guy for years. I invented, right? No word of a lie. I invented making music on the PC. Before I came along, it was rubbish. It was awful. It was all on the Mac. It was expensive and stupid. And everybody had a PC. No one had a Mac. And they were told, right, that you could make music on your computer at home. So they'd come to me at Turnkey and they'd say, I want some software for my computer. I'd go, oh yeah, do you now? And well, the first thing you're going to need is a proper sound card. And they go, well, what's that? I say, well, why don't you take this piece of software away and come back next week and I'll sell you one. And then take it away and come back and say, no, this works. I say, I know. So I'll have to sell you a Turtle Beach sound card. You have to break your computer open, install this thing, get some dodgy drivers, and then balance it on your head and see if you can get that to work. So they go away and do that and then come back and go, that's terrible. And I go, I know. But you'll need this MIDI interface and this keyboard now. Anyway, so we'd have this relationship where I keep sending people away with stuff that barely worked and they'd come back and buy more gear until they ran out of money. That was the Turnkey way, I think, back in the day. Anyway, so it got a bit frustrating that no one could ever get anything to work. So we started buying in some computers and then setting them up with stuff that worked straight away. So, installing Cubase and Logic on them with sound cards, so it worked. Except it didn't. It really didn't work. And we were selling people whole computer systems that didn't really work either. They'd take those away, have a fiddle and come back and say, it doesn't really work. And you go, So out of all of that, we invented the Caroline audio system, which was a PC-based computer, Windows-based computer, which was designed to actually work. And that took a lot of research and development. working these things out. I ended up writing a book about how to make Windows PCs work for music production, and we pioneered the whole thing. So yeah, I was very much about the computer, very much about seeing all of this hardware going, and we can get it all in software, mate. Bring it into your computer, piece of piss. You just do everything with your mouse, maybe a MIDI controller, a Fat Boy, something like that, and get keyfax in on the thing with the keyfax MIDI files, slap those into, have them running. Maybe if you're lucky, get some kind of microphone into your computer and you're singing along and making music, and and Bob's your uncle, you're off. And so yeah, that was the idea. The whole everything, all music in your computer, all the software synths, all the plug-in effects, all the mixing and music making you could possibly imagine, all of it stuffed into your computer. And absolutely, I pioneered that. I made these systems, sold these systems, left Turnkey behind to make more computers with another guy, then left that behind to make more computers by myself. So you could probably firmly assume that after, 20 years of making computers for Windows-based music production, that I was pretty much the software guy. I was then able to get hold of a Microsoft Surface because I thought the interface, the touchscreen interface, was really interesting. Got hold of a Surface Pro 3, and I did a whole series all the way through to the Surface Pro 9, I think it is, which is what this is here, on making music on the Surface. I was adored by Microsoft. I was wined and dined and all sorts of things. So yeah, I was a software guy. Absolutely. And then just one day, I can almost remember the day, I sat there trying to find a snare drum, and I just couldn't bear it anymore. Just could not bear it. I'm flipping sitting here, staring at this screen, finger on a mouse, dragging through something. It was so tedious, so boring. Despite the enormity of the power around me, I was so bored with this. And then I got an opportunity to write. So I've written articles and reviews for Sound and stuff. I got an opportunity to write for a new website called Gear News, and they want me to write about synthesizers. And I went, oh, really? So I went along to, I think, one of the first synth fests, because that happened about the same time, and I thought, it'd be a great opportunity for me just to re-immerse myself in hardware synths, because I haven't really looked at them for decades, because I used to run the synth department at Turnkey, funnily enough, for a little while before I moved to the software side. So I thought, right, I'd come back to that, and so I did. Went to Synthfest, saw all these amazing bits of hardware, going, well, this is really very cool. And I still had synth skills because, even though I was using software, I knew how synthesizers worked. And so was able to go about, making really cool tunes on things like the No Coast and the Erebus and the Mother 32 and stuff like that. Thinking, well, these are cool little synths. This is brilliant. Then I ran into this person called Eden Gray, who had this little bit of modular, and I asked her about it, and she took me through it, and I was completely mind blown by the whole concept. Now, I'd seen Eurorack at places like Frankfurt. I'd seen the original Superbooth at the Frankfurt Music Messe, where Dofer had walls of the stuff. And it was beautiful, but I completely ignored it because I was looking for plugins. Like an idiot. I was talking to software firms. Oh, so weird. Anyway, so I fell in love with the stuff that way. I bought myself a Mother 32 to start with. Started with a semi-modular, which seemed sensible. I used that a little bit. I was doing a lot of live work at that time, and so I played it live, alongside a laptop, alongside my Surface, running Bitwig or Ableton Live, that kind of thing, and started bringing in more external stuff. Got myself a Base Station 2, started to integrate those sorts of things, and then thought, right, let's have a go at this modular thing. And I was fortunate enough to have a bit of spare cash. I think I must have sold a computer, and I was able to buy a couple of things, and then I was able to get other manufacturers interested in sending me things, which was ideal, really. So it went from there. So yeah, it was definitely falling out of love with the computer, falling back in love with hardware, and just discovering how creative I could be in a very, very restricted, small space with a couple of things. rather than having a universe of things on the computer. That was the key for me. Now I've got a universe of things in flipping modular, which isn't helpful, but there are other elements than purely that at play. Oh, excuse me. There we go. I could do with a DJ turntable. I'd quite happily. I used to play with the DJ stuff down in the basement at Turnkey, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I never bought one. Should have bought 1210s at the time. I say that about a lot of things. Thank you for that question. I've now lost where we are. So I've skipped down a little bit. PC Music, the easy guide. Thank you, Ken. Brilliant. Oh, well, Peter, I'd left before Carol started branding other stuff from China. So I'm glad they're really good. But, you know, they really were. My understanding was that they weren't particularly... we didn't have much of a hand in the design, just really in the branding. You know, similarly, we had MIDI keyboards and bits and pieces as well, so I understand it. And I can't vouch for any of those, but I'm glad they worked for you. So there's an AI question. Don't know. Can I? I mean, I did a whole thing on it. I think I did a whole video on it. And yes, we do offload stuff onto stuff. I try to sum it up in a bit of a nutshell. I don't think anyone has a problem with AI being a tool, because it can be a tool. It's not, to label it just a tool is not right, but it can be a tool. There are elements of it that can be tool-like to help you to do stuff, to suggest stuff, to prompt you, to help you patch your system, or to learn something about it, or to code an algorithm. You know, all of those sort of things as tools are useful. What troubles us, I think, on the whole, and why people get upset, is because AI has been trained by people who didn't get paid to train it. It's trained on information and gear it did not credit. It did not give the source any credit. It did not give the source any compensation for that. So everyone is getting all of their answers from sources of information that were not earned, essentially, have been stolen for free. And so when that comes and turns into talking about the creation of music, the music it's creating isn't of its own mind. The music it's creating is based upon all this other stuff that it's stolen. And that's where it starts getting jammy and gets messy, and people start getting upset about it. You know, I mean, while we all do that, we're all influenced by stuff, we all borrow and take from stuff, we do so with the acknowledgement and the continuing of a human sense of a thread of expression. You know, it's not sort of mindlessly scanned and then regurgitated for our benefit or for somebody else's benefit. It's never going to be for our benefit. It's always going to be somebody else who's paying for it or getting paid for it. And that, I think, is where the difference is. So while you could write an algorithm using AI, which you could then sell and make money from, you're making money from somebody else's expertise that AI has absorbed, and that person is getting nothing for that. And for you, that's great. But if it's you that spent all of your time creating very cool algorithms, a bit of code, that you suddenly find your revenue drives up because no one is giving you money for it anymore. They're now just paying the AI company for your work, you know. That is when it really starts to become clear where the problems lie. But it may be that you'll never encounter those problems because you're not an originator of stuff, you know. And that's okay. It's okay to be a user. It's okay to be the person who benefits from other people's work. We all do to some degree in some different places. But I think it's not hard to see how that's going to knock off a whole swathe of creative people quite rightly, I think. So, you know, there's reasons why we find AI troubling. And that's not the same as offloading it onto a sequence. something which is randomly generating a sequence, because you've paid someone to create the module that does that. You know, that's all worked. That's a system that works of somebody creating something, being paid and compensated for that, which is allowing you to do the thing that you like to do. That's a perfect system, you know. That's a perfect system. My favourite Molten modular mug. ASM Diosynth. I don't know what that is. Assen sound machines. Do you mean what's it called? A Hydrasynth? I thought their new one was called a Leviasynth. So I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know about that one. What do you think about these upcoming Moog devices they claim will be instant classics? Don't know about them, I would say. Haven't heard them. What do you mean? Do you mean that in music you're going to produce something decent? I mean, I did the Moog Messenger, which was, you know, interesting, all right. Yeah, decent sounding, sort of a bit more priced, a bit better. What are they planning on doing? I hadn't heard anything else than that. Linux. Yeah. Preferred to program with a soldering iron. Yeah. Oh, it's a wind instrument. Yeah, no. No. Don't know where that came. That seemed really come out of left field. Right, yeah. Cool. Well, look, it's 9:30, so that's been good. I've enjoyed the chat. I think I'll give you a quick rundown of maybe of the random 8 and then my system, and then we'll call it a night. Should we do that? I'll finish my beer. So I will adjust my camera a little bit. I think. Oh, I don't want to have to get up. I'm going to bring this over here. I don't know. Hydrasynth based. Okay. Cool. Right. So let me take you through my little thing here. My little friend. Let me introduce you to my little friend. Let me see if I can zoom that in. Can I zoom that in? Is that going to be helpful? Unknown. Right. So, okay. The best thing, right? How much of this you can see. The best thing about what I did, and I'm going to make a video on this because I think it's interesting enough for me to do. Let me just shift my microphone so I'm still talking into it. Is I've created a Molten motion meter mixer, right? It's fantastic. Because I couldn't fit a mixer in, and I have used like the Create Audio assembler mixer as an external thing, which is great, but then when you get to the gig you've got to patch all that in, and that was a lot of work and troublesome, and it is small in moving it about. I mean, I know Gaz in his rig, but he has a double rig. He does have that sat in there as his mixer, and that's interesting, but again it's just that little bit fiddly. So I discounted that. I then got hold of the feedback one. Oh, it's just over there out of reach, which I've used before, which is really nice. But again, it's a lot of HP. But I'll grab it because it's worth showing it to you. Yeah. Which is, where are we? Which is this. Can you see that? It's a lovely mixer. Really liked it. Although I'd prefer faders to knobs, but hey, what you got. But it's got 2 auxiliaries. I had a little problem with, I think, a bit of noise on one of the auxiliaries, which is why I sort of benched it for a while. But you've also got gain on the input, which can be really nice because some things are different. 2 auxiliaries, panning, level, and mute switches. What could be better than that? headphone output, stereo returns, single send stereo returns. Brilliant. I like that. I would have that in there, but it just uses up so much space. So I decided not to go for that. So my solution then, getting to that, is to use two 1U motion meters. I thought I could use two 3U ones, which, you know, is just as valid. But I just didn't have the room in the usual rows, and I had the middle bit. While I did have some stuff in there, I thought, well, maybe this is a good use of that space. And what's particularly brilliant about it is just how much room you've got around these knobs. This is brilliant, and you can totally use it as a mixer. So what I've done is I've got 6 channels of mixing, and I've left 2 channels for modulation over here. So they're still doing the modulation thing, wanging things through there, which is brilliant. But otherwise, I've got 6 channels of mixing. And now, rather than mixing to a single output, because obviously each one of these can be mixed to a single output, but it starts to get complicated, I decided to not do that at all. And instead, I'm mixing straight to the DivKid output bus over here. So they're actually all going onto their own channel in the output bus. Right. Okay, got it. So I'm not having to worry about trying to actually mix them together. I'm just controlling the level. So I'm not relying on the summing in this. I'm using the summing in here. And the other decision I made was that to stop fussing about stereo, because I keep going down these stereo rabbit holes where I'm trying to do everything in stereo, and it just makes everything wider. It means you need 2 of everything, and it's getting complicated. And it's like, why am I doing this? Because when you play a gig, at least my experience, there's no stereo. There's no stereo field going on. You are in a loud, noisy, terrifying place where the monitoring is awful and the sound is just crashing around everywhere, and no one's standing in the right place for it to be useful in stereo. It's just not. So I thought, sod it, right, I'm just going to use mono, and that makes everything simpler. So I've got a single output from the Supercar, single output from the Echo. No, I haven't. Single output from something like the Algo here. Single output from this. You know, everything is a single output going through a single channel. Now, I have some stereo effects. So some of them I go through the Molten motion mixer, then, so this one like this, into the Echo Cinematic, which is then stereo out. Because the output bus is mono or stereo, you've got 6 channels of it. I can put a stereo one in there if I like, and if there is some stereo going on, that's great. And at the end, I'm going through a stereo reverb, so you know, if they're stereo, that's great. But I'm not fussed about that. And that has just simplified the mixing no end, to the point where I'm just really quite pleased with it. So when I run something, other than the kick drum, which is not being mixed through the same system at all, I'll just turn that down for the minute. I have it, it's just there beautifully. And you can see it all. Let's keep this down a little bit, level-wise. You can see it so brilliantly. That's what the motion meter is so good at. It's showing you what's going on, so you can see which channels are active, see what's going on. And it's superb. Except for that. But that's a whole other story. And because the knobs are big and accessible, it's really easy to kill something without having a mute switch, you know. So my kick drum's over here on the Kickane, and it's got its own thing. So I'm using the Kickane as the end of the chain, almost. Kickane is then going through the reverb, I think, so that I can use the side chain a little bit, which I sort of like sometimes and sometimes don't. But anyway, the mixing solution here is just really quite neat. It doesn't take up very much room and suits this perfectly. I love that it's in the middle. I love that it's all lit up and you can see what's going on. It's a really great thing. yeah, I approve of it. I'd like to have mute switches. I'd also like to include the my bypass module in order to route out to effects a bit more brilliantly, but I just don't have the room. So this has sorted that out, and I really like that. Right, so quick run through the voices then. No, I've never got VCV Rack to work in sync with anything. Just don't do it. Go full hardware. It's much simpler that way. Yeah, I could get a small matrix mixer. I mean, I've got a small stereo mixer from Dan at What's It that I broke the knobs off, sadly. Trying to change the faceplate. Where's that gone? Because that was here. Where did I put that? Is it in the sin bin? Yeah, never mind. Yes, I could get a matrix mixer, but those can be complicated, and again, they take up a lot of HP. Whereas the beauty of this is it's taken up the middle row, which I don't usually fill with anything particularly exciting anyway, other than the Arps of Chaos and the Shroud of Turing. Oh, here it is. Ugh. So, for instance, I was using my the M2 Mix this from DPW, which was great, but is actually really hard to get your fingers in there. The knobs are really stiff, which is usually a good thing, you know, but it means it's really hard to turn things up quickly or turn things down quickly. So while it's good, it's very, very competent, and I've used it a lot. It's only 4 channels, and you just can't do it in the same way. This is brilliant. Just, it does not compare. The spaciousness of the motion meter is just unparalleled. Unparalleled, I think you'll find. Yeah, just use a nice reverb just use a nice reverb for stereo. Exactly. So that's cool. So what do I have on channel 1 then over here? I have the supercar. Now, I'm programming the supercar through the automator here, which is the best thing I've got in a long time. Love it. Totally love it. It's just, once I've worked out how you turn off always on so that it only records on a gate, it's just the greatest thing. Let me turn this up so you can hear it a bit better. So what you do is it's always recording. So I've just put it back into record. It was on playback, but it's always recording. And you've got a slider for pitch, and you've got a gate to trigger the note that you want. Sends out a gate, sends out a CV at that point. You can set a length between 1 bar and 4 bars, something like that. So I haven't worked out exactly what the note is yet that I'm looking at, but you just play with it until you find it. So there's a note. And if it goes through another loop, it won't play back. It won't play back until I hit this record button. So I could hit the button and then press that. And then next time it loops around, I think I've got this on 4 bars. It should play it. There it is. So if I kill that and then just play something, you see without my hands. And that'll just play that round. And it's beautifully simple. You know, it's not unlike the Play Fader, not unlike the Neo Trinity, not unlike some other CV recorders, but it's just blissfully simple. And the fact that it's recording all the time means I'm not trying to press something to start it recording and then capture it. It's just always going. So I just play a few things and then I hit the repeat button when I'm happy, you know, when I think I've got something. It's just great. It's just totally brilliant. And there's 2 channels of it. So I've got the other one running a bass line, I think, although not at the minute because I've patched in the random 8 to do that particular channel. But you can just switch to another channel, channel 2, and do the same. You don't really have to see it to know what notes you're doing. You just feel your way into it, you know. And because it keeps recording over itself and over itself, you play a bit, and if that's not quite right, you just keep on doing it until you get it sort of right, and then you hit loop, and people can just assume it's part of the performance. It's so nice. And you can even change the length sort of when you're in the middle of it. So now it's nothing, I think. So now just playing sort of one part of it. Just lovely. I could easily have 2 or 3 of these. Because it's just you know, I've not come across something in a little while that's just made me go, oh, that's just a beautifully simple, perfectly done thing. It doesn't overdo it. I mean, it'd be nice if I could save sequences and stuff. I'm thinking that I might be able to. Can I lay my hands on that? It's the places in chaos because I had a gig, so therefore everything's in chaos. But somewhere around here I've got the Shackmat Bishop's Miscellany. I'm wondering whether I can sort of record into it using that, and that way it could be a way of saving patterns. I don't know, I might experiment with that. So that's that channel. The next channel is my experimental channel, which isn't particularly great. Yeah, I was trying to find some way of having kind of a drone that I could use to start a set with, which I can then bring more exciting stuff on top of. And I have in the past used the Algo for some really beautiful little twinkly things, and I just could not get it to twinkle. Could not get it to twinkle. Not sure what I was doing wrong. Could never quite get it in tune with everything else that's going on. But also I couldn't find the right effect for it. I've got a couple of these Qubit modules and I can't get my head around them. I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But I ran out of time, so I left them in, and I thought, oh, yeah, I'll do my best. So I've got this, which should more or less just be sine waves, I think. I don't know. I don't know what the tuning's supposed to be. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong. But anyway, it's going through the Nautilus here. So I go through here first, then through the Nautilus, that then goes stereo into the output bus. But this thing here, what is it doing? I just don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to do. I know, read the manual, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was the thing I had to do all along. I mean, there might be something in there if I try hard enough and give it a little bit more time and try to work it out, because I think there's definitely something interesting in there. It's just been boggling me. Obviously I could use it a bit fiercer. Anyway, so I had that on channel 1. What of course I'd really like is the parting effect. That would be brilliant. This thing here, I'd like to have that in that space, would be perfect. But alas, it's not Eurorack just yet. So anyway, so that's that side. Then on channel 1, I got this coming from the fantastic Ottomods over here. This is an 8-step sequencer which uses bit counting in an interestingly strange logical way to create different patterns of those 8 notes. Running it through this marvellous quantizer, but you essentially, you know, set something up. But then with these 3 knobs, it changes the way the bits are being counted, so it changes the order of stuff. You know, it's not that. I don't think it's that at all. So I think what's brilliant about that is how I'm just fiddling this around and nothing is really happening. Is that actually happening? So what is this coming from? Is this? It is, right. So that's brilliant. That's classic. That's a classic showing you a randomly generated pattern of things using the wrong thing to explain the thing that's not actually doing the thing. Good Lord. Oh dear. Learn. Right, so over here. God darn it. So the Random 8, which is a brilliant name for something from Mylar. You're not going to be able to see that, are you? Not going to be able to see that. Can you see it from that one? Hang on. Right, there it is. It's here, right? This thing here. So it's 8 channels of random output. So I'm just laughing at myself. So I've just got a clock going in and I got notes coming out. I'm turning the knob next to it, which I think is changing the range. Yeah, and each of these steps, each of these channels has its own kind of function that you can hold it and then that'll change what's happening. So I could change the scale, for instance, like that. I then change its knob and it changes what scale it's using. I don't know what the scales are, but there's also like things like slide, and you can see that as you turn the knob these lights go up and that's the indication of what's going on, as I understand it. You've got a number of steps, probability, style, whatever that means. This is just running into a Pony VCO, so it's not part of my rig currently, but I think I'm going to have to try to make room for it somewhere. So that's on that channel. So normally speaking, I'd have that channel run by another channel on the automator, which you can't see on the automator here. But don't know, up here. Back up here again. I'd normally have that running that, but I'm just introducing that this evening. Okay, so that's that channel. The next channel. All right, now we're back over to my Otter mods, right? The thing that makes sense. This is thudding away, right? So you can hear that pattern as I change. Changes the way that those are being counted. It's not really, is it? No, it really does do that. So if I go down to 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's the pattern. It's just really a great way to get variations on a pattern very quickly and easy. Sometimes it changes the timing. Like now it's only playing these 4 notes. It's great. And that's going through this super quantizer, which I'm thoroughly enjoying because it allows me to take 2 voices out. So from the one input, I've got one coming out here, and I've got another one going out to voice 3, which is the Ballista Blast, doing exactly the same, but using the notes differently because I've given it slightly different voltage. So it's scaled differently, but to the same notes, if that makes sense. But it's in FM mode, giving a silly, simple thing. And I've got Wonky. I don't know if you remember Wonky. We used that in my last live stream. I can't remember how to make it work, but I just plugged it in, and it's getting the same gate information as the other one. But it does weird things to the gate. It gives you these bursts and bits, and I daren't touch it in case I lose what it's doing. But I'll spend a bit more time looking into that at some point. But I'll do it right now. I don't know if that did anything. Anyway, gives a nice little additional something or other that's related to everything else. Then on channel 4, I got the output of the snare and hi-hat, which is a module over here from Jake's Custom Shop. The kick, as I say, is on the output, so I can bring that in separately. Now, because I don't have any drums, any drum machine bits, modules, no room for, I'm just using Pamela's to give it a straightforward 4 to the floor kick and snare thing. And that's actually enough. What I'd love to have some kind of fill come in, some kind of change, some kind of difference, but again, I'd need more stuff to do that, or I'd need to do something clever with Pam's to make that happen. But as it is, it's just like that. It's just like an occasional extra kick or something, or a couple of extra snares, you know what I mean? So I want to try to find a way of adding that to it somehow. Would be a plan. But then it all sort of works quite nicely together. So I've got this coming from here, haven't I? And of course, I've got the triple mod in here, which I made last week, which is totally brilliant. This is a keeper. You've got 3 envelopes, but they can also be LFOs, or they can be Touring machines, or they can be other bits and pieces as well. So phenomenally useful. I'm only using the surface of. Oh, don't want that. So got those 2 things playing with each other. It's interesting, that kick just feels exactly off. Let's see if I can refine that. I'm trying to do something clever and I can't work it out. Oh yeah. There you go, that kind of thing. That's the idea. See, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that, I have to say. I mean, it's, you know, it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes happy. It needs then to do something else, go somewhere else somehow, and that's always the thing I've got to work out. How do you do that bit? But the mixing thing is definitely really working. The automator, I really love how I can do something different with that every time. I do have space here with these two modules to put something else in, whether that's drum programming with like the dig tac I could put in there, or a different effect, or I don't know, some other sound source I haven't quite thought of yet to put in there. I do not know at the moment, so that's open for interpretation. I'll see if I can do something with that. So that's got on a bit late, so I will just quickly have a quick scan through the comments from you lovely people. Yeah, there's Ken. I have lots of things on the disting which I can. I mean, I've got. Look, I mean, look at this. I've got I got the family right here. Okay, I turned this on for the first time the other day, and I got a bit scared to put it down again. But I want to. There's things in here I want to get into some of the things in here. So I'm gonna try to find the time to put something into that. That's the plan. Whew. Boop-doo. Hi, Awkward Teeth. Good for you to make it. Orb vibes. Okay. Cool. Cheers, Mark. Always good to see you. I'm trying to make the next couple of EMOMs if I can. Great. Thanks. Good. Super. Right. Nice. So thank you for that, everyone. Oh, how nice. I will probably leave it there, I think. So that's been splendid. Thanks for the chat. It's been interesting. I've really enjoyed talking to myself as I do. As I do. What are these about? I don't know. But there's been some interesting questions. I hope that's been interesting to listen to in one way or another. I'll just keep going on. Keep trying to do this sort of thing. Seems like a great idea. Cheers, Nikki. I don't have any great lineup of plans for reviews or videos just at the moment. I am going to build the one-eye rolly Bethacco though as soon as I can. That was the one that people seem to think I should build first, so I'm going to do that. But at the moment my head's in, I'm writing manuals at the moment, and I've got deadlines and stuff, and this is actually for money. It's for money. Someone's going to pay me to do something, so I have to get that done. And I've got some sound on sound that's backed up as well, reviews and and other stuff too. So I'm just having to write at the moment, and which is good, but it just means I'm neglecting the video side of things for a little while. I hope that's okay. Hope to bring that back soon. Oh, I should mention at Cambridge on Saturday, the Synth Picnic, that went really well, really nicely, very similar, very intense at one point. We had a lot of people in, but sort of for a particular hour. It got really, really sort of intensely busy, which was fascinating. So thanks very much to Electronic Music, Cambridge Electronics Music, for hosting and inviting me over. And yeah, it was definitely worthwhile because people got a chance to play on stuff. And I will keep musing around this Synth Picnic idea, keep rolling it around to see if I can make it viable in some way. It's the idea. Yeah. Good. Right, good. So if you're a manufacturer out there and you want me to look at your stuff, I will absolutely awesome to do that. If you'd like to be included in my case, just send me a thing and I will try it out and I will see. No promises on anything, but I will always happy to look at people's modules and to share my thoughts on it, and if I can, make a video about it. But sometimes it does take time. You know, I've had plenty of modules for a long time that I haven't done anything on, which I mean to, and that's my continuing burden. I'll stop rambling now. But just to say, if you've got something interesting out there, I will always jump quickly on something interesting, like the Random Mate. Yeah, it's only been out a day and I'm already doing videos on it. You know, the Automator, for instance, the triple mod, things like that. Things that are interesting that thrill me will always get bumped to the top. It doesn't mean that the things that are at the bottom are boring. It just means that they haven't inspired me quite yet and may do in the future. Gosh. Cabinet members calling for Starmer to resign. Yeah, he probably should. And why can't I remember her name? I think she's brilliant. I can't remember her name, which is just crazy. But who was a deputy leader who got kicked out because I don't know, she didn't pay full duty on some house or other, or, you know. it's like Farage gets 5 million in crypto from somebody and nobody bats an eyelid. You know, Starmer gets a free suit because he becomes prime minister and everyone goes, oh my god, taxpayers' money, this is just outrageous. You know, it's a crazy bonkers upside down world out there. You can't believe a thing you see. So So yeah, that's going to be interesting then. I mean, you know, okay, I'd love Labour to wake up and do something awesome. That would be brilliant. So go and do that. But in the meantime, let's keep playing on our bleepy bloops and let's start getting that music out there, which is going to undermine the whole populist ideology and get us thinking about one another in a community, looking after one another, appreciating our diversity and what everyone can bring to things, and just getting on with having a great time with each other rather than climbing lampposts with flags, for heaven's sake. All right. In the meantime, go make some tunes. Am I going to press a random button? Oh, damn it. It's not that one. No, it's not that one either. That's the one.